Try it again. There you are.
Yeah. And would you please introduce yourself briefly about you for Korean readers about your
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you want me to give history too, or just talk about what I'm doing now?
what you're doing now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Lucinda Holt. I'm CEO of a company called ClickEquations, which has a platform that large advertisers and ad agencies use to manage paid search advertising in actually across the world on Google, Yahoo, and MSN.
So would you please tell about your platform? What the customers got the advantage for using your the service? What do they?
So
Yeah.
there's many types of advertisers who use paid search advertising, obviously small up to large. We have two types of customers primarily that use our product. The first, large advertisers. So people like 21st Century Insurance and Omaha Steaks, and they use the platform to basically ensure that their paid search campaigns are managed efficiently and effectively. That is, that they get a higher return on their investment in the advertising
Uh-huh.
and that they can do it very efficiently. The second kind of customer is a search agency, where they manage a campaign for other people's budgets for advertisers. An example of those is a company called Gyro HSR, which is the largest global business-to-business ad agency, and they use the platform for the same two main reasons, that they can make them more efficient and effective. For agencies, there's an added benefit of because they're managing multiple accounts. The system helps them do that very, very efficiently.
Okay, I see. And when was your is it not this is not your first company, right?
It's not. This is actually my fourth company, and before I had my own, I worked at two other startups. So I've been involved in six startups.
Oh, it's great. So what do you think is the toughest thing in building business?
Probably the toughest thing is actually not in building it. The toughest thing is getting started.
Getting
And I
started.
think what I would like to encourage your readers, your visitors,
Yeah.
is just to get started. I think so many people, at least in the United States, I'm not sure what the culture is like in Korea, but in the United States there are so many people who want to be entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
and they just don't start. And the truth is, the worst thing that can happen is that you fail. And it's actually not that terrible. You spend some amount of time, but you've learned a lot, and you can either go back to a typical job, or you can go do another startup and be smarter about the next one. So I think that's the single biggest hurdle, is just to start.
Start.
And then once you've started, it's hard to name a single thing that I think is consistently the hardest. Most entrepreneurs, I think, would say that financing is the hardest, is where you get the money to fund growth.
Yeah, right.
That hasn't been my experience. Is I've been able to raise the money. It's more it's more there's a great Harvard Business Review article, the name of which I'm not going to remember. It talks about strategy. I think it might be what is strategy. Um, a key point of it is strategy is what you don't do, is what you decide not to do. And typically in a startup, there's so much opportunity that the most difficult thing is to decide which things should you not do, and then just focus on execution on the few that you've decided to do.
I see. And what do you think is the efficient way or the some better way to PR or advertise their company? Because most startups have some problem about letting others or customers know their company.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is something that has really changed in the last few years. It used to be very difficult
Yeah, right.
because everything that you had to do was expensive. Now that's not true. Now, ClickEquations, for example, we have a very extensive blog. We Twitter all the time.
Uh-huh.
Because of that, we're established as experts in our field, and we go to conferences, and we get speaking engagements at conferences because we're perceived as experts. And I think that's the single easiest, most effective way. It's particularly powerful in a business-to-business situation, ours, but it also works absolutely in retail settings, is using the social media. And in consumer businesses, it's even broader. So you can attempt to get viral sort of marketing to go. So I think it's much easier than it used to be.
Okay, thanks. And
It takes money. Entrepreneurs don't sleep anyway, so.
team up.
Sound.
Yeah, sorry. So only one guy can start up their own business. We need some like a team. It works.
That's true.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think that's true. Go ahead.
yeah. So what's your like some method or some your experience? What is a good way to build like a good team?
Yeah, so my particular approach to this has been a little different because I do technology startups and I'm not a technologist, I'm not a developer.
You're right.
So every one of my businesses, I've worked with somebody who's more technical than I am. The way that I have done it, and there's lots of ways, right? But the way I've done it is to usually find somebody, and and the way you find them is usually just happenstance. It's networking. It's because you know somebody who knows somebody who is looking for someone like me. And I think that's the biggest way of how you build the team is just to be out talking with people a lot and knowing having people know what it is you're looking for. And again, social media helps there too. So if you're blogging about you want to do a startup and this is the stuff you're interested in, people can find you virtually. It doesn't have to be that you've met them face to face. But my repeated model has been to find a very small entity, one or two people who have something that's of value. There's a little kernel there, but they need help to build it into a real business. And my particular strength is taking something, the seed of something, and turning it into a real business. There's lots of ways to do it. I do think you're right, though. It's very difficult to start a business just completely on your own and be successful. Most successful businesses are done by teams.
Yeah, right. And some like I think is like for essential skills or essential characters for like entrepreneurs. What do you think is some like a brave or some courage or just consistency? What do you think is essential skills?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked the question the way you did because you said skills or characteristics, and I think that in fact characteristics are far more important than skills. One of the things about startups is you'll do so many different jobs in the beginning that you're not going to have the skills to do them. You're just going to have to be basically smart and do them as well as you can, and it'll be fine to do them that way. So skills, I think, are much less important. Although the skill of selling, I think, is important because you got to sell your idea to partners. I mean, in the business partners, you have to sell them to new employees, to prospects, and all the rest. I think that there's a certain amount of selling, and I don't in a traditional way. Just the ability to articulate your idea, get people excited about it, is the only really skill, say, that is really important. Characteristics. The biggest thing the studies say is persistence, because especially my bet is in a traditional society like culture like Korea's, and it's true even here where entrepreneurship is part of the fabric of the country. Everybody will tell you why it's a silly thing to do. Everybody will tell you why it won't work. Everybody tells you how risky it is, and you have to be able, even just to start, to see beyond that and to persist despite that fact. And the second thing is, once you're going, startups are not easy. Every startup, even the ones that go crazy, even Google and Twitter and these sort of companies, have major challenges along the way. And if you don't have the persistence to push beyond that, you give up and the thing dies. I think if you had to pick one, it would be persistence. And I think related closely to persistence is resourcefulness. So you don't know you don't have the step. How do you find out? You have to be the kind of person who doesn't stop because you don't know. You find some way, and you just keep going.
Yeah, and like the last question is there are so many like people also in other countries in Korea about like guys who have some like big company and they want to do and be an entrepreneur, but they have or they get married, they have a baby, but they want to build up their own business and they have some like conflict mind. So what's your like advice for them to have some conflict mind about doing that?
Yeah, that's really hard. I think that's a very hard circumstance. I think a couple things. One thing is if you really want to do that, I don't again understand really Korea well enough to make an exact comparison, but one of the key things is to not build a lifestyle that's expensive. So even if you're making a certain salary and you afford a certain kind of place to live and a certain car and those sort of things, one of the keys is if that's really dream and you really want to do your own business, especially if you have a family, you have children, is you have to live below your means. And so that you can save money, first of all, that can support you while you make this trip. But then also you're not, you're used to a lower lifestyle, so you can live that for a while. I think that's then you do have some degrees of freedom. The other thing that tends to be really hard for people who are inside companies is the shift is much bigger than they realize. So, in entrepreneurship, literally everything you do. There's no one to set a computer. There's no one to pick a phone or answer a phone. There's nobody to, to take out the trash. There's nobody to find you office space. You do everything. And a lot of times in bigger companies, people just aren't used to that. They're used to be coddled and taken care of. And my experience is it's a big change. It's a bigger change than people realize. And there's some people who love that and welcome it and they'll be successful. There's others for whom entrepreneurship maybe really is best just as a dream. And they're not really going to enjoy it if they make the switch.
I see. A little bit understandable. And it's 10 minutes is over. So really, what? Sorry.
I was just going to say it's been a real pleasure talking with you.
We are really honored to have you here, really, Lucinda. Very much. I really hope you to come here Korea one time.
Oh, thank you. I hope so, and I'll call you if I do.
Oh yeah. Bye.
Bye.